I stood near the vending machines on the third floor with my work boots still dusty from the shop, holding that paper in both hands like it might change if I stared at it long enough. My father was asleep down the hall, his mouth open a little, one hand outside the blanket, the same hand that taught me how to hold a wrench when I was 8. I had $12 in my wallet, one overdue mortgage notice in my truck, and a daughter at home who still asked me every Thursday if Grandpa was coming over for pancakes. The billing woman had been kind. That almost made it worse. "We can set up a payment plan, Mr. Edwards," she said. I nodded like a grown man who understood grown-up things. But the truth was simple. I could not pay it. Not in a year. Not in 5. Maybe not ever. My phone buzzed while I was folding the bill into my back pocket. Unknown number. Then the message came through. "Liam, this is Sophia Boyle. I need to speak with you privately tonight. It concerns your father's medical bills and my daughter's custody case. I can send a car, or you can come to my house at 8. I read it 3 times. Sophia Boyle was not someone who texted men like me. She owned Boyle Industrial, which meant she owned the plant where I had worked for 11 years. I was a senior floor technician, which sounded nicer than what it was. Machines jammed, lines stalled, supervisors panicked, and I got called to fix it before production numbers fell apart. I had met Sophia face-to-face only once before. 3 months earlier, her black sedan had needed a jump in the employee garage after some charity event at the plant. Everyone else had acted like she was made of glass. I hooked up the cables, got the engine running, and when she thanked me, I said what I probably should have kept to myself. "Your benefits cut hurt people, ma'am. My father lost coverage on 2 treatments because of it." She had looked at me through the steam coming off the hood. Not offended. Not soft either. "What's your name?" "Liam Edwards." That was honest, Mr. Edwards. It wasn't hard. It was just true. That was it. I figured I'd ruined any chance of getting promoted. Instead, 3 months later, she was texting me about the one thing I had no answer for. I drove there myself. I didn't want her car. I didn't want to owe her more before I knew what she wanted. Her house sat outside Columbus behind iron gates and a row of perfect trees. It was the kind of place where even the driveway looked like it had been cleaned by somebody with a college degree. I parked my old Ford near the garage and felt stupid for checking my boots before I stepped out. A woman in a gray suit opened the door before I knocked. "Mr. Edwards. Ms. Boyle is in the study." The house was quiet in a way that did not feel peaceful. It felt unused. Big staircase, white walls, expensive lamps, floors so clean my reflection followed me. Sophia stood near a desk with files stacked in clean piles. She wore a navy dress, no jewelry except a watch, hair pulled back tight. She looked like she had been awake for 3 days and had decided nobody was allowed to notice. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I came because you mentioned my father." "I know." That answer bothered me because it was honest. She pointed to a chair. I sat. She stayed standing for another second, then sat across from me and opened a folder. "My ex-husband is petitioning for primary custody of our daughter, Eva. He is arguing that my work schedule, public responsibilities, and household structure make me unfit to provide emotional stability." I didn't say anything. "He's good at making things sound reasonable," she continued. "He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't threaten. He uses calendars, photographs, missed school events, staff turnover, and every hour I spent keeping my company alive as proof that I am not present enough to be her mother." Her voice stayed flat, but her fingers pressed hard into the folder. "Where do I come in?" I asked. She slid a second folder toward me. "I need a stable family structure before the hearing. A husband with no public risk. A father. Someone employed, respected, clean record, no scandals, no social mess. Someone believable. I looked at the folder but didn't touch it. "You're asking me to marry you." "For 1 year," she said. "Legal marriage. Separate finances except for the agreement. Public appearances when required. You and your daughter would move here. Your father's medical bills would be paid in full through a private trust. His care would continue. At the end of 1 year, the agreement dissolves quietly." The room went still around me. I leaned back in the chair. "No." Her face barely changed, but I saw the hit land. Then I said, "Not until I know what I'd be putting my daughter into." Write in the comments, would you have said yes to save your father, or would you have refused because your child's life could be turned upside down? She blinked once. I tapped the folder. Where would Emma sleep? Second floor, east wing. There are 2 rooms connected by a shared sitting area. Eva's room is nearby. Where would I sleep? Separate bedroom. Same floor as mine, but across the hall. The staff would know privacy is expected. What does Eva know? Nothing yet. What happens when she asks if I'm her stepfather? Sophia looked down for the first time. We tell her this is a family decision. That's not an answer. No, she said quietly. It isn't. I nodded once. What about my job? You would move into a technical operations role with flexible hours. Not a fake job. You're qualified. The paperwork is already possible. Possible, I repeated. I don't want you dependent on me for everything. That makes 2 of us. For the first time, something almost like respect crossed her face. I kept going because if I stopped, the number on that hospital bill would start talking for me. My father doesn't get moved around like furniture. His doctors stay his doctors unless he says different. Emma stays in her school unless she wants different. No one talks down to her. No one uses her for pictures without telling me first. And if either of our girls start getting hurt by this, the deal gets reviewed before some attorney tells us to smile through it. Sophia listened without interrupting. Then she said, "Agreed." You agreed too fast. I already hoped you would ask those things. That took some air out of me. Before I could answer, a small voice came from the hallway. Mom. Sophia turned, and the woman across from me changed so quickly I almost missed it. Her shoulders dropped. Her mouth softened. A little girl in pink socks stood near the door holding a stuffed rabbit by one ear. I thought you were asleep, Sophia said. I heard voices. Sophia crossed the room and crouched in front of her. Not like a CEO. Like a mother who had been waiting all day to touch her child's hair. This is Mr. Edwards, she said. He works at the company. Eva looked at me with careful eyes. Do you fix machines? Most days. My tablet freezes. That's not my best area, but I can look. She gave me the smallest smile, then leaned into Sophia's side. Sophia kissed the top of her head and whispered for the housekeeper to take her back upstairs. When Eva was gone, Sophia stood there a moment longer. I saw it then. Not weakness. Fear. The kind a parent carries when someone else gets to decide where their child sleeps. She walked back to the desk and handed me the contract. Take it home. Have an attorney review it if you want. I can arrange one independent of me. I'll read it myself first. Mr. Edwards. Liam, I said. If we're doing this, don't call me Mr. Edwards in my own house or yours. Her eyes held on mine. Then call me Sophia. I left with the contract under my arm and the hospital bill still in my pocket. Dad was awake when I got back. He was sitting up, watching some old baseball replay with the volume low. You look like somebody offered you money, he said. I sat beside his bed. They did. He turned his head slowly. Bad money? No. Hard money. So I told him. Not every legal word. Just the truth. Sophia's daughter. The custody case. The year. The bills. Emma moving into that house. Me becoming somebody's husband on paper because I could not save him any other way. Dad listened without judging me, which somehow made my throat feel tight. When I finished, he looked at the ceiling for a while. "You're not selling yourself," he said. I let out a tired laugh. "Feels close." "No. You're making a trade because this world put a price tag on staying alive. That ain't the same thing. I don't know what it'll do to Emma. That's the part you watch. Not the money. Not the woman's house. The girls." I nodded. Dad reached over and grabbed my wrist. His grip was weaker than it used to be, but it was still my father's grip. "Is she cruel?" "No." "Is she foolish?" "No." "Does she love her child?" I thought of Sophia crouching in that hallway, her whole face changing for Eva. "Yeah," I said. "She does." "Then don't lie to yourself about why you're doing it. Do it for me if you have to. But walk in as Emma's father first." I went home after midnight. Emma was asleep on the couch under a blanket, waiting for me like she always tried not to do. She was 9, all elbows and messy hair, with one sock half off. I carried her to bed, and she woke up just enough to mumble, "Grandpa okay?" "Yeah, baby," I said. "He's okay tonight." At the kitchen table, I read the contract until the words blurred. Payment schedules. Privacy terms. Public conduct. Custody cooperation. Separate bedrooms. 1-year dissolution. At the bottom, Sophia had already signed. Her signature was sharp and controlled. Mine looked heavy when I finally wrote it the next morning at the courthouse. Sophia stood beside me in a cream-colored suit. No flowers. No music. Just her attorney, my foreman as a witness, and a clerk who looked bored enough to make the whole thing feel legal. When the clerk said we were married, Sophia glanced at me. Neither of us smiled. But outside, as the courthouse doors opened and cold air hit my face, my phone buzzed with a message from the hospital. "Your father's account has been paid in full." I stopped walking. Sophia noticed. "Liam." I looked at that message until the letters went blurry. Then I put the phone away and looked at the woman who was now my wife for exactly 1 year. "Okay," I said. "Now we protect the kids." The first thing Emma said when she saw Sophia's house was, "Dad, are we allowed to touch stuff?" I stood beside her in the front entry with 2 duffel bags at my feet and a cardboard box under my arm. That box had most of my life in it. Work hoodies, Emma's school folders, my good coffee mug, 3 framed pictures, and the little blue recipe book my wife used to keep in the kitchen drawer. Sophia stood a few steps ahead of us, dressed for work even though it was Saturday morning. Black pants, white blouse, phone in one hand. She looked calm enough for a board meeting, but I saw her eyes move from Emma's face to the bags and back again. "Yes," Sophia said. "You're allowed to touch things." Emma looked at me like she needed backup. "It's a house," I told her. "Not a museum." Sophia's mouth moved a little, not quite a smile. Eva came running down the stairs in yellow pajamas, her hair still messy from sleep. She stopped halfway when she saw us, suddenly shy. Emma went shy too. She held the strap of her backpack with both hands. Sophia cleared her throat. "Eva, this is Emma. Liam's daughter." Eva looked at Emma's purple sneakers. "Do you like pancakes?" Emma nodded. "With chocolate chips?" Eva's face lit up like someone had opened a curtain. "We have those. I think. Mrs. Martinez hides them because I eat them plain." Emma looked at me again. I shrugged. "Sounds like you've got a mission." The 2 girls walked toward the kitchen together, not exactly friends yet, but close enough that I felt something in my chest loosen and tighten at the same time. Sophia watched them go. "That was easier than I expected," she said. "Give it 10 minutes. Somebody will argue over a chair." She looked at me then, really looked, and for 1 second we were just two parents standing in a strange hallway hoping our children didn't pay for adult decisions. A housekeeper named Mrs. Martinez showed us the rooms. Emma's room was bigger than our living room back home. Pale green walls, white desk, shelves with nothing on them yet. A connected sitting area led to Eva's room through another door. Emma stood in the middle of it and whispered, "This is mine." "For now," I said. She heard the last 2 words. I knew she did. Her face changed, just a little, but she nodded like she was trying to be grown about it. My room was across the hall from Sophia's, exactly like she said. Clean, gray, hotel perfect. There was no sign anyone had ever sat on the bed or left socks on the floor or woken up late and cursed at an alarm. I set my duffel down. Sophia stood in the doorway. "If anything is missing, tell Mrs. Martinez. I brought what we need." "You brought 1 box. We don't need much." She didn't answer right away. Maybe in her world people needed storage rooms, climate control, guest wings, and staff calendars. In mine, if Emma had her backpack, clean clothes, and the stuffed dog she still pretended she didn't sleep with, we could make it through most things. That first dinner was painful in a quiet, polite way. The dining table could have fit 15 people. There were 4 of us at one end, with too many forks and glasses Emma was afraid to use. Mrs. Martinez served roasted chicken, potatoes, salad, rolls, and some kind of soup in bowls so thin I worried I'd break one by looking at it. Emma sat stiff beside me. Eva did not. She leaned toward Emma and whispered, "The small fork is for salad, but nobody cares unless Grandma visits." Sophia heard that and closed her eyes for half a second. I almost laughed into my water. Sophia asked Emma about school. Emma gave short answers at first, then longer ones when Eva started adding comments about her own class. By dessert, the girls were comparing teachers, favorite snacks, and which cartoons were still good and which ones had gotten weird. Sophia mostly listened. Her phone buzzed 4 times. She ignored it twice, checked it once, then placed it face down like it had insulted her. After dinner, Emma helped carry plates to the kitchen because that was what she did at home. Eva followed her with 2 spoons and looked proud of herself. Sophia started to say something, maybe that staff handled dishes, but I gave her a small shake of my head. Let them help. She saw it. She stopped. Later, I found her in the kitchen, standing near the sink while Mrs. Martinez put leftovers away. "You don't have to supervise us," I said. "I'm not." "You are." Her shoulders dropped. "I don't know how this is supposed to look. That makes 2 of us." She folded her arms. Eva asked if Emma could sleep in her sitting room tonight. "What did you say?" "I said she should ask you." "Good." Sophia glanced down the hall where the girls were whispering. "What would you say?" "I'd say yes, but the door stays open and everybody brushes teeth first. That's simple. Most parenting is not simple. That part is." She looked tired in a way makeup couldn't cover. Not sad exactly. More like she had been holding a heavy door shut for years, and now someone had asked her to pass the salt. The first child exchange happened 2 days later. Sophia had warned me about Daniel Gilman. She said his name like it belonged in a legal file, not in her house. He arrived at 6 sharp in a silver car with no dust on the tires. Tall, expensive coat, smooth voice, smile that looked practiced in mirrors. Eva was waiting near the stairs with her overnight bag. She had been laughing 5 minutes earlier because Emma had put a sticker on my toolbox. But when the doorbell rang, she went quiet. That told me more than anything Sophia had said. Daniel stepped inside without asking. Sophia. Daniel. His eyes moved to me. Not surprised. He already knew exactly who I was. And this must be Liam, he said. The new husband. I held out my hand. Liam Edwards. His handshake was firm enough to be a message. Mechanic, right? Technical operations. Of course. He smiled. Promotions do come at interesting times. Sophia's face hardened. I kept my voice even. Machines still break at the same speed. For a second, Daniel's smile thinned. Eva came down the last step. Hi, Dad. There she is, he said warmly, but his eyes checked her hair, her bag, her shoes, like she was evidence. Did you have a good weekend in the new arrangement? Sophia said, Daniel. What? I'm asking my daughter a normal question. Eva looked at the floor. It was okay. Only okay. Big changes can be confusing, sweetheart. New man in the house. New child. New rules. Emma appeared at the hallway corner, holding the stuffed rabbit Eva had forgotten. You forgot this, she said. Eva's face changed with relief. Thanks. Daniel looked at Emma the way a person looks at furniture that arrived without permission. You must be Liam's little girl. Emma moved closer to me. I'm Emma. Nice manners, he said. Your father is raising you well. It sounded like a compliment. It wasn't. I put a hand lightly on Emma's shoulder. She raises me half the time. Emma smiled despite herself. Daniel turned back to Eva. Come on, sweetheart. We don't want to be late. Eva hugged Sophia first. Sophia held her too tight for 1 second, then let go. Daniel noticed. I knew he noticed because his eyes softened in that fake way polished men use before they twist the knife. See, he said gently to Eva. Mom gets nervous. That's why we all need calm routines. Sophia froze. I stepped forward, not between them exactly, but close enough that the air changed. Eva, I said, your rabbit's in the front pocket now, okay? Easy to reach. She looked up at me. Okay. Daniel studied me. I met his eyes and did nothing else. That was the whole thing. No threat. No speech. Just standing there. After they left, Sophia stayed by the door with her hand still on the knob. Emma whispered, I don't like him. Go upstairs, I said gently. Check on your homework. But. Emma. She went, not happy about it. Sophia finally shut the door. Her face was controlled again, but her breathing was not. He does that on purpose, she said. I noticed. He'll write something about tonight. He'll say Eva seemed anxious. He'll say the household feels unstable. Let him write. She turned sharply. You don't understand how this works. No, I said. I don't understand court games. I understand kids. Eva was laughing before he came in. Then she stopped. That means something. Sophia looked away fast, like I had stepped too close to a place she kept covered. She has to go with him, she said. I know. I hate that. I know that too. She pressed her fingers to her eyes, then dropped her hand like she was mad at herself for needing even that much. I'm sorry, she said. You didn't sign up to manage my reaction. I signed up to protect the kids. Her eyes came back to mine. The house felt different after Daniel left. Bigger, colder, too quiet without Eva's voice bouncing off the walls. Emma came downstairs later and asked if we could make grilled cheese because dinner looked too fancy again. Mrs. Martinez nearly took over, but I asked where the pan was. 10 minutes later Emma was buttering bread, I was burning the first sandwich, and Sophia stood at the kitchen island still in her work clothes, watching like she had never seen people ruin dinner on purpose. "You want one?" I asked. "I already ate." Emma looked at her plate. "Dad always says that means no but also yes." Sophia blinked. I slid a sandwich toward her anyway. She took one bite standing up. Then another. Nobody said anything about it. That night, after Emma went to bed, I heard movement across the hall. Not crying. Not exactly. Just the sound of someone trying hard to be quiet and not managing it. I stood outside Sophia's door for a second, then knocked once. The sound stopped. "I'm fine," she said through the door. I didn't ask. Silence. Then the door opened a few inches. Her hair was down, and that alone made her look like a different woman. "What do you need?" she asked. "Eva will call if she needs you. She has a phone for that." "Then keep yours on." "I always do. And sleep if you can." Her face shifted, irritated and grateful at the same time. "That's your advice? For tonight?" She looked past me toward the girls' rooms. "Emma okay?" "She's worried about Eva. They barely know each other. Kids don't need long." Sophia nodded slowly, like that scared her more than it comforted her. I went back to my room, but before I closed the door, my phone buzzed. A text from Sophia. "Thank you for standing there." I stared at it a moment, then typed back. That part was easy. A minute later, another message came. "It won't stay easy." I looked across the hall at the thin line of light under her door, then toward the cracked open door between the girls' rooms. No, I thought. It probably wouldn't. But for the first time since I signed that contract, the house didn't feel like a place I had entered for money. It felt like a place somebody needed me to stay. By the third week, Sophia's house had sounds in it. Not loud sounds. Not like my old place, where the washer shook the hallway and Emma yelled from one room to another because every wall was thin. This was different. Small sounds, but they traveled because the house had been so quiet before. Eva laughing upstairs. Emma dragging a chair across the kitchen because she wanted to reach the cereal herself. My father coughing during a video call from the rehab center and pretending he was fine. Sophia's heels stopping outside the girls' sitting room before she decided whether to go in. And every night, after the girls were asleep, the low voices at the kitchen island where Sophia and I sat with legal folders between us, rehearsing a story that was supposed to save her daughter. Her attorney, Denise Carr, came twice a week. She was sharp, gray-haired, and had the kind of patience that made you feel stupid for wasting it. "The timeline needs to sound ordinary," Denise said one night, tapping her pen against the folder. "Not perfect. Perfect sounds manufactured. Ordinary sounds true." Sophia sat straight beside me, wearing reading glasses I had only seen her use at night. We met at the plant. "Too cold," Denise said. "You need more personal detail." Sophia looked at me. I looked back. She needed a jump in the garage. Denise nodded. "Good. Then." I told her the benefits cuts hurt my father. Sophia's eyes lowered to the table. Denise wrote something down. "That's useful. It gives emotional origin without sounding romantic." "Glad our romance started with me complaining about insurance," I said. Sophia almost smiled. "Almost." Denise did not. "Then you had further conversations?" Sophia answered before I could. "He was direct." I remembered that. "That's not a relationship." "No," Sophia said. "But it was trust." The word sat there between us longer than it should have. Denise looked at me. "Mr. Edwards, in deposition they may ask what made you fall in love with Miss Boyle." My jaw tightened. That wasn't part of the contract. It is part of a marriage. Sophia took off her glasses. Denise. I'm not asking you to perform. I'm asking you not to freeze when Daniel's attorney tries to make this look like a transaction. I stared at the table. What made me love my wife? My real wife, Claire, had been gone 6 years, and still the answer came too fast. Not the big things. Not the pretty things people said at funerals. It was her leaving my work shirts over the dryer because she knew I hated digging through baskets. It was her singing badly in the car and pretending she didn't know I could hear her. It was the way she put her hand on Emma's back when Emma was a baby, steady and automatic, like breathing. I didn't say all that. I said, you don't fall in love with speeches. You notice how someone treats a child when they think nobody important is watching. The kitchen went quiet. Sophia looked at me, and for once she did not hide fast enough. Denise wrote that down too. After she left, Sophia stayed at the island while I loaded mugs into the dishwasher. She had started letting me do that. At first she acted like it was strange. Now she just moved her files out of the way. That answer, she said. Was that about Claire? I kept my hands in the sink. Some of it. I'm sorry. I know. I don't want to borrow things that belong to her. That made me turn around. Sophia stood there with her arms folded, but not in her boardroom way. Smaller than that. Barefoot, glasses back on, hair loose from where she had taken the pins out. You're not borrowing her, I said. I'm just using what I know. And what do you know? I dried my hands on a towel. That kids can tell when someone stays because they have to, and when they stay because leaving would feel wrong. She looked away. Upstairs, a door opened. Emma appeared on the back staircase in pajama pants and one of my old t-shirts. Dad? What's wrong? Eva's upset. Sophia moved first, but she stopped halfway, like she was afraid of going too fast. We found Eva sitting on the floor between the 2 bedrooms, knees pulled to her chest. Emma sat beside her, shoulder pressed against hers. Eva's phone was in her lap. Sophia crouched. Sweetheart. Eva shook her head. Dad said Emma won't be here forever. Sophia went still. I looked at Emma. Her face had gone pale. Eva kept talking, not crying hard, just in that small broken voice kids use when they are trying not to be trouble. He said grown-ups make arrangements, and little kids get confused. He said I shouldn't call Liam anything because it'll make it worse when he leaves. Emma looked at me then. That look hit harder than Daniel ever could have. I sat on the floor across from them because standing over kids never helps. Eva, I said, your dad is right that grown-ups made an arrangement. Sophia's eyes snapped to me, scared. But he's wrong if he made you feel foolish for caring about people in your own house. Eva wiped her nose with her sleeve. Emma whispered, are we leaving? I could have said the contract was 1 year. I could have said we did not know. I could have said some adult answer that protected me from promising too much. Instead, I said, not tonight. Not tomorrow. And nobody gets to make either of you feel silly for loving who you love. Sophia put a hand over her mouth. Eva leaned into Emma, and Emma wrapped both arms around her like she had known her for years. After they settled, Sophia and I stayed in the hallway. The connecting door between the girls' rooms remained cracked open. A strip of warm light stretched across the carpet. Sophia whispered, he called her after bedtime. I figured. He knows that scares her. Yeah. She pressed her palm flat against the wall, like she needed the house to hold her up. I hate that he can reach her through a phone. Then we talk to Denise tomorrow. He'll say I'm restricting access. Then don't restrict. Document. Set rules. Same as machines. You don't guess where the problem is. You track it. That got a tired laugh out of her. Did you just compare my custody case to a bad conveyor belt? I fix what I know. Her face changed then. Not much. Enough. 2 days later, Dad came home from rehab. Not to my house. To Sophia's. I hated that at first. Hated watching medical transport pull into that perfect driveway. Hated seeing my father in a wheelchair beneath those tall white columns. Hated that money had made this easier when work and love had not. But Dad rolled into the front room, looked around, and said, "Well, Liam, you finally married up." Emma burst out laughing. Sophia, to my surprise, laughed too. Dad liked her immediately, which annoyed me because he acted like I was the suspicious one. At dinner, he thanked her for the medical care. Not in a begging way. In his way. "You helped my son breathe," he told her. "That matters." Sophia's fork paused. "He helped me too." Dad looked from her to me and gave a tiny nod that I pretended not to see. With Dad in the house, everything shifted again. The girls brought him drawings. Mrs. Martinez made softer food without being asked. I installed a handrail near the guest room while Sophia stood at the bottom of the stairs holding screws and acting like she knew what size I needed. One evening, Eva asked if Grandpa Joe could come to grandparents' breakfast at school. Sophia opened her mouth, probably to explain something careful. Dad answered first. "I go where pancakes are served." Eva smiled so wide it changed the whole room. Later that night, Sophia found me in the garage. I was checking the oil in my truck because I needed something simple with a clear answer. She stood near the workbench in a silk blouse that probably cost more than my tires. "Daniel's attorney sent new deposition questions," she said. "Bad? Personal?" I nodded. "They're going to ask whether we share a bedroom." I put the rag down. "We answer carefully. They'll ask whether we intend to have a real marriage." "That one's harder." She looked at the concrete floor. "Is it?" I didn't answer right away. The garage smelled like oil, cold metal, and rain. Normal smells. Safe smells. But Sophia standing there made the space feel different. Finally I said, "The girls already think something real is happening." "I know. Emma asked me today if she should leave some toys here after the year ends, so Eva won't feel lonely." Sophia closed her eyes. "That's where we are," I said. Her voice was low. "Eva asked if you would still fix her tablet after court." I looked at her then. She looked as tired as she had the first night in the study, but not as alone. That somehow made it worse. "This was supposed to be controlled," she said. "Kids don't live controlled." "No," she whispered. "They don't." The next morning, Daniel filed a motion claiming Sophia's new marriage was rushed, unstable, and emotionally confusing for Eva. Denise called it predictable. Sophia called it strategy. I called it a man throwing stones at a house he could hear children laughing inside. That night, the girls fell asleep in the sitting room between their bedrooms, sharing one blanket, a movie still playing quietly on the screen. Dad slept downstairs with his door open. Sophia stood beside me in the hallway and looked at the two little bodies curled toward each other. The contract was in a drawer in her study. But this was upstairs, breathing softly under a blanket. Sophia whispered, "What happens if we win?" I did not have a good answer. Because winning court was starting to look like the easy part. The hard part was going to be telling two little girls that the home they had started trusting had an expiration date. The deposition room did not look like a place where a family could be taken apart. That was what bothered me most. It was just a conference room downtown with gray carpet, a long table, bottled water, and a window looking out over traffic. No raised bench. No big wooden doors. Nothing dramatic. Just attorneys, folders, a court reporter, and Daniel sitting across from Sophia with his calm hands folded like he had never once made his daughter go quiet on purpose. Sophia sat beside me in a dark suit. Her knee bounced once under the table, then stopped. I only noticed because my hand was resting near hers. Denise leaned close and whispered, "Answer only what they ask. Do not explain unless I tell you to." "I know." Daniel's attorney smiled at me like we were about to discuss golf. "Mr. Edwards, when did your relationship with Ms. Boyle become romantic?" There it was. I looked at Sophia for half a second, then back at him. "It started with trust before anything else." "That is not what I asked." "No," I said. "But it's the honest answer." His pen paused. He asked about the garage. About my promotion. About my father's bills. About the wedding date. About separate bedrooms. About whether Emma knew the marriage was planned quickly. Every question had a hook in it. I kept my voice even. "Yes, my father's medical care was part of the agreement." Daniel's attorney looked pleased. "So money was exchanged." "Care was provided," I said. "For a sick man. And I am grateful for it." "And in return, you married Ms. Boyle." "In return, I agreed to build a stable home with her for the children while the legal process played out." He leaned back. "That sounds rehearsed." "It is. We prepared. You would have called us irresponsible if we hadn't." Denise looked down, but I saw the corner of her mouth move. Then they asked the question I knew was coming. "Do you love Sophia Boyle?" The room went so quiet I could hear the air system above us. Sophia did not move. I could have said yes too fast. That would have sounded fake. I could have said no, and that would have been easy in the legal sense and cruel in every other way. So I told the truth I could live with. "I love the way she fights for her daughter. I love the way she listens when she's scared. I love that my daughter feels safe in her house. I don't know what word you want me to use for that, but I know it matters." Daniel's face changed for the first time. "Not much." "Enough." The hearing came 9 days later. By then, the house had turned into a place of quiet routines. Dad had his chair by the back windows. Mrs. Martinez packed snacks into the girls' backpacks like she had been doing it for years. Emma and Eva had made a sign for my room that said "Knock unless pancakes." Sophia left early every morning, but now she came into the kitchen first, even if only for coffee and 2 minutes with Eva's hairbrush in her hand. On the morning of court, Eva stood at the bottom of the stairs in her school uniform, clutching her stuffed rabbit. "Are you coming back after?" she asked Sophia. Sophia crouched in front of her. "Yes." Eva looked at me. "Both of you?" I felt Sophia's eyes on me. "Both of us," I said. Eva nodded like she had just signed something serious. Court was harder than the deposition because Eva's future was not a folder anymore. It was spoken out loud by strangers. Daniel's attorney painted Sophia as distracted, overworked, image-driven. He did it smoothly, never raising his voice. He showed calendars. Travel records. Late pickups from years ago. Photos from company events where Sophia stood beside governors and executives while Eva was with staff. Sophia sat still through all of it. I knew what that cost her. Then Denise stood and built the other picture. She showed school records. Doctor visits. Messages. Eva's counselor's notes about anxiety after calls and exchanges. She showed the new household schedule, the medical setup for Dad, the girls' rooms, the shared sitting area, the support system. Not perfect. Real. When Daniel testified, he sounded reasonable until Denise asked about the late-night calls. "I was checking on my daughter," he said. "At 9:48 on a school night. I'm her father. And when you told her Mr. Edwards and his daughter would leave once the arrangement stopped being useful, what were you trying to accomplish?" Daniel smiled sadly. "I was preparing her for instability." Across the room, Sophia's hand closed into a fist. Denise waited. Then she said, or creating it. Daniel's smile stayed, but his eyes went cold. When Sophia testified, I thought she would use her CEO voice. She didn't. She was controlled, but not icy. I built a company, she said. And people decided that meant I did not know how to build a home. I made mistakes. I worked too late. I trusted staff when I should have been there myself. But I have never loved anything more than my daughter. Her voice shook once on the last sentence. She did not apologize for it. When it was my turn, Daniel watched me the whole time. His attorney tried to make me sound bought. He brought up the bills again. The promotion. The house. My old mortgage. My wife. That last one nearly got me. Isn't it true, Mr. Edwards, that you were vulnerable when Ms. Boyle approached you? Yes. And she used that. I looked at Sophia, then at the judge. She offered help. There's a difference. And what did you offer? A steady adult in a house where two little girls needed one. The judge watched me for a long second. I did not know if that helped. I only knew it was true. The decision did not come with music or relief at first. It came in legal words, read from a page. Sophia kept primary custody. Daniel received structured parenting time with communication boundaries. Exchanges would be documented. Late-night calls stopped unless urgent. Sophia's breath left her like she had been holding it for a year. Outside the courthouse, she walked 3 steps away from everyone and covered her face. I followed, but not too close. We won, I said. She nodded, still not looking at me. Then she turned and grabbed my coat with both hands, pressing her forehead against my chest. I put my arms around her carefully at first, then not carefully at all. For once, she let someone hold her where people could see. That night, the girls ran through the house screaming when they heard. Dad cried and pretended he had something in his eye. Mrs. Martinez made soup and grilled cheese because somehow that had become our celebration meal. Eva climbed into Sophia's lap after dinner. So we're staying? She asked. Sophia's eyes found mine over Eva's head. The contract was still in the study. The year still existed. Emma sat beside me, very still, waiting for an answer she was old enough to fear. Sophia kissed Eva's hair. We're not changing anything tonight. That was safe. It was honest. It was not enough. Later, after the girls fell asleep with the connecting door cracked open, Sophia and I went to the study. She opened the drawer and took out the agreement. For a while, neither of us spoke. Then she said, we can follow it. Quietly. Carefully. At the end of the year, we can do what we said. Yeah. Is that what you want? I looked at the paper. My signature. Hers. All those clean lines written before soup, before Dad's handrail, before Eva's calls, before Emma leaving toys in a room she had started calling hers. No, I said. Sophia's face changed, but she did not move toward me. I stepped closer. I don't know how to do this rich world. I don't know board dinners, attorneys on speed dial, or which fork scares my daughter. I know I'm still grieving some days. I know my father may get better or he may not. I know this started because both of us were trapped. Her eyes shone, but she stayed steady. And I know, I said, that when Eva asked if we were both coming back, I didn't answer like a man under contract. Sophia looked down at the paper in her hands. I'm not good at being soft, she said. I noticed. That made her laugh through the tears she was trying to hide. I'm serious, Liam. So am I. She folded the contract once. Then again. Not ripping it. Not making a show. Just making it smaller. We should go slow, she said. We already live with 2 girls and my father. Slow left a while ago. She smiled then, tired and real. I reached for her hand, and she let me take it. Upstairs, one of the girls laughed in her sleep. The house settled around us, no longer polished and empty, no longer hers or mine in any clean way. The deal had been for 1 year. But somewhere between the hospital bill, the courthouse, the soup, the hallway lights, and those 2-bedroom doors left cracked open, the deal had stopped being the strongest thing in the house.